My name is
So,
Sherry
yeah,
and
I'll just
Johanna.
introduce you if you don't mind.
Go
So
ahead.
we have two great people with us today, Johanna Sigmund,
Sigmund.
right?
Yes.
Also known as Rutabaga
Yes.
today, I guess, and Sherry Shore, both with Civic Sundays. And as you heard, Johanna has come up with the concept of these truth bombs, which Eileen found for us. Thank you, Eileen.
Thank
So
you, Eileen.
yeah, even after we had to cancel one of these presentations, but now we're ready to go. And Sherry is the co-host. She's going to do it. I'm not going to do any work this time. So it won't be any disaster with Zoom the way I usually do. So you guys be
Well,
glad of that.
No,
So
no, I'll do the
Sherry,
disaster
uh-huh.
with Zoom. It'll be my disaster with Zoom. I mean, we've done a bunch of these and something always goes wrong. It's, the cussedness of inanimate objects,
That's
right?
it
it.
is the
That's
nature of
it.
Zoom, yes.
So,
Well, go
So,
for it, Sherry.
okay.
Johanna, how are you?
I'm Sherry and I live in Los Angeles and I help to lead an organization called Civic Sundays.
mhm,
And we got started during Trump's first term, actually before he was inaugurated. So we've been doing our stuff for a long time. And the only difference between you and us is that we've just had more practice. We've been doing this longer. We've been activists now for what, 7, 8 years, it seems like
a
forever.
decade.
A decade, yes, most of this decade. Civic Sundays meets live in person every Sunday to work for 2 hours. Our people do all sorts of things, all of the things that Johanna was talking about, and anything that we can come up with that will move the ball forward to get Democrats back into power. We'll do anything. I mean, we're not picky or proud. We will do anything. Um, and Civic Sundays is, uh, it's my life. It's at this point, I thought I was going to be retired and now I have a new job. But this year is different. Up until last year, up until this last November, we were doing the usual stuff. We were doing phone banking and text banking and postcarding, and we held bake sales to raise money for candidates. And we did stuff like we would walk precincts and cure ballots. But this year is so different because we're up against a different kind of enemy. Now he's in office and he holds the power of the federal government in his hands and he can use it against us. So we've had to come up with some new strategies. And Johanna came up with this one and she pitched it to us and we said, hell yes. And so has virtually everyone who has watched this presentation. They all got very excited and we built all of the superstructure around it. We now have a collaborative place to work online wherever you are. You can work with other people who are doing the same thing and you can get coaching and do it all from the comfort of your own living room or office or wherever you happen to work.
Mhm.
So, saying that, let me just introduce you to Johanna. She is known online as Rutabaga on Blue Sky, and you'll be getting her handle pretty soon.
Mhm.
And Johanna, you want to get started and share your screen?
Yeah, I will in just a second. I have
Okay.
some notes first. What I would like to add is that Civic Sundays is the little engine that could. Congress, when he was a congressman, Adam Schiff wrote a book called Midnight in Washington, and he mentions us in his book. That's how good we are. So
He actually, you might as well quote him. He
we
said, we need a nation of Civic Sundays.
and we have started outsourcing our method of creating Civic Sundays all across the country. We have one where in Philadelphia. We now have one.
Canada.
Huh?
Canada.
One in Canada,
Yeah.
one in so yes, so people are understanding this is these small but mighty groups that do things, that don't just get around and talk, but that are actually having actions to
Yes.
do. So without belaboring it anymore, I just want to say hello and welcome to Truth Bombs. And as Sherry said, my name is Johanna. I go by Rutabaga on Blue Sky, and all my comments about social media are I'm using Blue Sky because right now that's the only place I'm active. I have accounts other places, but I'm lurking because I don't want to support them in any way, but I do get information and I want to report back anything nonsense that's happening on those platforms. But I am just limiting my posting to Blue Sky. You can see the spelling of my name up at the top where in my avatar where it says my name, Johanna and Rutabaga, but Sherry can also write it in the chat. I really want to make a strong distinction between the need to keep people informed of all this nonsense that's going on and influencing people to do something, like to get engaged, to vote. Both things are important, but they are not the same thing. And not all information influences people to do things. And truth bombs are about influencing people to do something, like get engaged and to vote. I know I talked about this before. We are all freaking out, and it's about different issues, but this action is not about fixing any of those issues. This is a slow action, and this will take time. And I know that that's frustrating because everything seems so immediate and dire and alarming, but this won't happen overnight, and it has to grow organically. And it must be done now while we still have time to educate voters before the midterms. So why haven't our warnings about MAGA worked? We have never been more organized, more motivated, more well-funded, registered more voters, had such a deep bench of great candidates, had a monster as an adversary, and yet nationally, our 2024 voter turnout went down. So simply put, we are not reaching or influencing voters at the same rate they are because, and this is the radical part. This is going to be the hard part for you to understand and process. National issues don't motivate voters to vote. If they did, we would have won in a landslide. Engagement is where the home is. Or, as our former House Speaker Tip O'Neill famously observed, all politics is local. Democrats have forgotten that. Finally, for the past 8 years, I have refused to say his name. So believe me, I share your reluctance to use it. In this Zoom, where it's not absolutely necessary, I am going to use a pseudonym, and it may not be PG. So, with all that being said, I am going to now share my screen. And here's where the technology gods are either going to favor me or not. Oops, and apparently not. Here we go. Here. And there we go. We are off. Okay, so politics has changed radically, as Sherry was saying. And yet we continue to do the same things over and over and still play defense. Our messaging is scattered and ineffective, and it isn't reaching or convincing enough people to get involved or even to vote. When we share Count Flatula and MAGA's insanities, voters are asking, what's that got to do with me? And we are failing to make the connection. Our 2024 loss was due to many issues, but king of them all was disinformation. They basically won with memes. Do you remember that Biden, I did that stickers that they put on all those gas pumps? Those 3 words, 8 letters, changed the national narrative on gas prices. The meme was personal. It hit people where they live. People who go to work use gas, period. Memes are now how many people communicate information. And unlike a news article, it takes 2 seconds to read. And in a moment, I will explain why that is critical. A truth bomb is a photo or video meme depicting factual local news stories from anywhere in the United States, issues at the city, county, district, or state level. Truth bombs are not about connecting national news to local voters. It's the opposite. It's about blaming local issues on our national leaders. You can make a truth bomb out of any local news in any city or state as long as you include the address and the date, and then tag journalists who are local to the story. You don't have to be local, the journalist has to be local. So who are all these truth bombers? We are. We are the on-the-ground record keepers of what Jabba the Gut is doing to our families, our friends, our businesses, our cities. Because right now he's firing everyone who will serve in that capacity, and he is literally erasing all evidence of his crimes. Truth bombs are going to center around our neighbors and answer the question, what has that got to do with me? So, how can we reach voters? People are turning to social media to follow independent journalists, which is why because it had an oh my God, or outsized influence on voters. Elmo did not buy a cable news show. Elmo didn't buy a newspaper. Elmo bought Twitter. Unfortunately, there is no longer a trusted centralized news source for us. Our information sources are scattered. Mainstream media no longer represents us. So we have to post everywhere on every platform, all social media platforms. So why not just appeal directly to voters? Well, do you get your news from random people on social media? No. When does this take place? Now. It's ongoing. As soon as he took office, we could blame Trump and Republicans for everything, which is a page out of the MAGA playbook. Using this technique, MAGA convinced enough Americans that fascism is preferable to democracy. Why wouldn't we use it to save democracy? Truth bombs copy that method, but with different and factual content. Why memes? Well, the sad truth is that Americans are illiterate. Republicans have created education deserts, and Felon 47 has just signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. According to the National Literacy Institute, over 50% of Americans read at the 6th grade level. 21%, that's 1 in 5 Americans, can't read at all. The bottom line is that illiterate people vote. When you can't read, words become the enemy. And we keep using words. Also, news deserts. Since 2005, more than 3,000 print newspapers have vanished and continue to disappear at a rate of 2 per week. We are in a local news crisis. A study found that solidly red states such as Texas, Kentucky, Arkansas, Idaho, Montana, Mississippi had the highest concentration of counties with limited or no access to local news. 91% of those counties voted for yam tits in 2024. This is lack of information, which opens the door to disinformation. News deserts have much more political corruption, higher taxes, lower bond ratings, greater social alienation and isolation, disenfranchisement, and rising misinformation. Information is a weapon, and voters have been disarmed. This is especially true in rural places, which dominate the Electoral College. When voters do have access to local news, it increases split ticket voting. That moderates the partisan shift. We want that. When there is a void in local news, it tends to be filled with right-wing rhetoric and conspiracies. The tangerine terror will continue to blame Dems and Biden and whatever for everything, and voters armed with information will not be so easily fooled. So where do I find local news? In addition to all of these sources and ideas, and remember that this is being recorded, so you don't have to copy this or memorize anything. There are sites such as 50states.com, which provide it's an aggregator site for information for local news from all 50 states. The Nextdoor app in your city is also a great source for hyperlocal news. We need these tiny local stories to have the same weight and receive the same attention and that the national stories do. And we do that by overwhelming social media with our tiny issues. If you've ever walked into a cloud of gnats, you know the power of tiny. There is currently no comprehensive national free database for journalists. We are creating one, but it's a monumental task. And we could definitely use your help with that as well, with research and data entry. And so let us know if you're interested or you want me to expand a little bit upon that. In the meantime, we are providing some links to the sources to get you started. I'm also compiling on Blue Sky lists by state, which you can access, of journalists who are on Blue Sky. This article, written by Jason Lincolns for the New Republic, says the following: liberals need to identify the problems that real Americans face and more forcefully blame Fatty Kruger for those problems' continued existence. Democrats need to have an aggressive and coordinated media strategy to surface derogatory information about Republicans, enumerating the problems they fail to address and filling the news with fresh complaints. That sounds like truth bombing to me. Truth bombs are our coordinated media strategy. This is what a truth bomb looks like. There are only 3 things that are included on the meme. On the meme itself, it says, blame Trump across the top. This negatively links that treason weasel and Republicans because he is symbolic and representative of all Republicans at this moment. They don't exist anymore. It is just toilet paper. To every problem, issue, disaster that we truth bomb about, no matter how small and local. I constantly mention potholes. If you can blame the potholes on Republicans and Trump, that is a good truth bomb, and I will explain that further. The second thing you add, and this has to go on every truth bomb, is location. You can see here I put an intersection, Lamar and Pearl Streets in Jackson, Mississippi, and you add the date. This data makes the photo viable and verifiable for journalists and inspire confidence and trust in potential voters. I just want to mention that I've recently changed our phrase from Trump's America to blame Trump. There are marketing reasons behind this, but also it's an active phrase, as well as unambiguous in associating bad things with him and all Republicans. Once you've uploaded your meme to your post, you are going to put in the addresses to journalists, 1 to 3, and get their attention to legitimize this truth bomb and to separate it from anyone else using the hashtag. You use journalists local to the story in your meme. Your favorite big accounts will never see them. One of our truth bombers said that a local journalist reposted her truth bomb. I forgot to mention that you must include, the third thing that you include in a post is hashtag truth bomb or # truth bomb, as some of us grew up knowing it. So you have the 3 things. You have the meme, which has 3 things: blame Trump, address, and date. Then the post has journalists and hashtag truth bomb. Nothing else. That is all that goes into a post on a truth bomb. If you need to include a story because you think that people might not understand it, copy and paste the link in a separate post or reply to your own truth bomb post. Don't put it in the truth bomb. We want to encourage people to go find out and to look into these things. If you have to, I'm sorry, yeah, so that is, so you have your clean post on the truth bomb, and then if there's a link to a story that you got that from, you post it separately connected to that post. So the rules for truth bombs that must be followed. All truth bombs must depict a local, factual issue at your hamlet, city, town, neighborhood, district, state level. The truth bombs don't have to be local to you, but the journalists that you tag in your truth bomb should be local to the story. Truth bombs and videos must be taken by you, someone you know, or from a reputable publication. One of the first truth bombs I did was on egg prices. So that's how small we want these the issues to be. Truth bombs must depict negative things we can blame on the administration. Don't share anonymous quotes or opinions or random facts, and never, ever share anything about Diaper Dawn or MAGA. We are trying to turn the news away from him and them and their lies. Our truth bombs must look like a marching band, or the Rockettes if you are more artistically inclined. And their impact is from their uniformity, from their consistency. The uniformity of truth bombs is our coordinated media strategy. People need to be able to identify them as soon as they see them. So you might find an interesting story, but with a wide, generalized headline, such as the egg topic. Turn the national story into a local one. Look for this egg shortage. Go to the store, find if there's eggs missing on the shelf or the price of eggs. I was mentioning before that my very first truth bomb was about egg prices, and I included, I think it was this one, I'm not sure. It included the name of the store, the address of the store, and the very first reply was, "Oh my God, I shop there." That is what we want to achieve with our truth bombs. We want people to go, "Oh my God, that's my children's school. Oh my God, my neighbor lives on that street. Holy hell, I donated to that charitable foundation that has turned out to be a fraudulent one." We need people to be able to say, "This is now affecting me. How does this matter? Why should this matter to me? It matters to me because it is affecting me personally." And because human experience and human nature is such that we don't do anything unless it affects us, that is why we need to go small, tiny, and personal. Instead of headlines about tariffs, for example, share photos of prices. They're hyperlocal and easy to photograph. Tariffs will cause shortages and will lead to price gouging and empty shelves. This affects everyone, and make great photos. The smaller the issue, the better. I know we're trying to inform people, and you can, about all this other big stuff, but for truth bombs, smaller is better. We are influencing people by showing them how issues affect their daily commute, their shopping, their job, their health, their retirement. Share big issues all you want, just not as truth bombs. A general rule of thumb is if you can't put an address on it, even a specific state, it's not a truth bomb. The more specific the address, the better the truth bomb. So our patron saint of sanity and law, Mark Elias, urges us to cultivate and amplify new communication methods and messengers. Truth bombs, truth bombers. Identify and promote our best messengers and pair them with the most influential platforms, journalists, social media. Mark also urges us to use the word opposition rather than resistance. My understanding is that resistance is throwing sand in the gears to prevent them from advancing. Opposition is to stop them and push back, which is why I've replaced resistor in my bio with opposition. So what are the things we should photograph? Photos of headlines are just a photo of words. Your truth bombs must contain a photo. Family separations was a powerful headline, but the picture of that tiny girl crying next to her mother being arrested put a face on the terror. Ignore anyone saying that's a blue state problem, the Dems' fault. That is people fact checking us. That is MAGA fact checking us. We want that. When they are busy fact checking us, we are disrupting their messaging. Don't respond to them. Truth bombs are a bomb. You drop it and go. Our goal is to replace their MAGA narrative with Count Flatula is bad for America. 1/3 of voters didn't vote because they didn't have information that affected them personally. What's that got to do with me? What would they spend that extra $100 a month on? Look for things and services that people will lose just to give billionaires their tax cuts. What else can we do? In addition to this list, if you have access to a ute, find out what issues motivate them. How quickly did Swifties do something en masse about Ticketmaster's handling of Taylor Swift's concerts? It personally mattered to them. Truth bombs have two equally important parts: creating them and propagating them. Commit time to search for and repost truth bombs. Search for hashtag truth bombs and then go through all the ones that come up. There are lots out there. The success of this campaign depends on everyone reposting these memes. So if you can't come up with your own ideas, find other truth bombs and repost those. Just repost them. Don't quote post them. Don't add anything to it. Voters can use truth bombs at town hall meetings to demand action on those local issues. If officials don't have town halls, voters can call their office. If they're not answering the phones, stand outside their office with printed truth bombs. They may not be there, but their staff is. Help us with the journalist research and data entry spreadsheet, which I mentioned previously. It's a critical component to this action. And we will post a link to the training for that in the chat. So we feel powerless right now, but we are not. We have strengths. Being tiny has strengths. One tiny grain of sand in our shoe literally makes us stop to deal with it. One invisible mosquito in our room will have us up and swatting. Tiny can make us pay attention and take action. If it affects us personally. Our truth bombs are that grain of sand, are the mosquito that makes people get up and do something like protest, show up, vote. However, there are also vulnerabilities. We can't keep track of it all. Nobody can. Shock doctrine is a strategy designed to overwhelm us and dissipate our energy, our focus. Nobody is immune to it, not even MAGA. Truth bombs are our shock doctrine to fragment MAGA narrative like a cloud of gnats. So science backs up this action because outrage sells. It's why MAGA has been so wildly successful. It's also why we can be too. By using truth bombs to highlight local issues, we are finally fighting fire with fire. Outrage is highly engaging, and the reality of Mar-a-Lardo's America is outrageous enough that we don't need to exaggerate or make up anything. Also, policies are on our side. When voters don't know the party affiliation, they prefer progressive policy solutions to conservative ones by wide margins. A whopping 71% of voters prefer Democratic healthcare legislation. Truth bombs are a new weapon that specifically uses social media to spread information. The only Democratic leader who truly understands this power is AOC, and she is bringing it. By focusing on local news and shifting their attention away from ideological fights to kitchen table issues, we make voters participate again and take action. It might also wean them from their purity and principle voting mentality and their third-party protest votes, which cost us the election. And I say this with all my love, but if you're uncomfortable with any aspect of this action of using a MAGA technique, choose a different action. There's no judgment. I want to close by sharing these inspiring words from Lisa Gilbert and Robert Weissman, who are co-presidents of Public Citizen, who are doing a bang-up job in fighting this coup. We have to make hope real. We have to make it a living, breathing thing. And that starts with working together and doing whatever we can, even if we don't see immediate impact, even if it feels small, even if, especially if, it seems impossible. So now let's go out and truth bomb the shit out of MAGA. So that's the presentation I wanted to ask. We are not allotting time for a training to make a meme, but if somebody has, I can show you how to do one very quickly, but it won't teach you, it'll show you how to do it. But also we offer a training, a hands-on workshop every alternating Friday of exactly how to do this. And so just let us know in the chat if you'd rather just go to questions and answers, because I know that people have a lot of questions regarding this, or if you would like me to show you quickly how to do a truth bomb.
They would love to see it quickly, and I am also including a link in chat where you can attend the workshop. So Johanna, why don't you do a short demo for them?
All righty. Hold on. One thing I forgot to do. Oh, okay, great. I am going to. So part of our toolkit and part of our process is where do you find these stories? And as I said to you before, there are a lot of sources, but the best stories come from you as you drive around town doing your chores and you see a business that you went to shuttered. And you take a picture of that and you write down the address, the name of the store and the address and the date that you took it, and you make a truth bomb. Those are the best truth bombs. You go to the store and the shelves are empty. You go to a park and it's closed, or a national park and it's closed. These are things that people are likely to run into that matter to them. And those are the best truth bombs. I'm going to mock up one. These are not real stories, so I'm not going to publish it, but I will show you how I would do this. So I'm going to share again, because sharing is caring. Let me see where I forget. Okay, I'll just do screen, which is the general one. So let me go over here. There we go. All right. So let's say I went on a drive. We were going to go to a national park for the summer, and we get to Yellowstone and we come across this and I go, oh my God, I took this picture. Yellowstone is closed. I'm going to make a truth bomb out of that. So I would copy the image, whichever technique you use to do that. Then I would go to we also have a document called 3 Different Ways to Make a Meme. I'm going to show you how to do it on Image Flip. Image Flip is, there's a link to it in the toolkit. Our toolkit has everything that I'm talking about today.
Oh,
so I would go to make a meme. I would upload a new template. I would paste the picture that I just took. I would upload it. And at the top, I would go blame Trump. And I would go Yellowstone Park. What state's that in? Wyoming?
It's in several states.
Well,
Yeah.
Wyoming? Wyoming. Okay,
Wyoming.
Wyoming is
4,
one.
4, 16, 25. Don't at me. I'm geographically challenged. Okay, so you see, and that's basically your meme right there. However, there are a couple of options. We can make the name bigger, and because I think it's important, you can also change the color. So I'm going to make it red so it stands out, and I'm going to generate the meme, and there it is. Now I'm going to copy this. Copy the image. I'm going to go over to my, this is my Blue Sky, new post, paste it in there, add truth bomb hashtag. And now comes the hardest part. And this is the part also where we need the biggest help. Oops, I'm going to go to indie journalists over here. This is our current independent journalist database, which is in process. Let's just assume for the moment that Yellowstone's in Alabama because I'm in Alabama, but you can see down here at the bottom all the states, and a lot of them are missing information like that. We need people to help us input, do data research and entry. So let's go to Alabama, and you can see that it has all this information about all these journalists, but this column, the beat column, is probably the most important. So I'm going to look for, okay, would you say entertainment lifestyle? Okay, that is a good one. I would copy that handle because that's Blue Sky. And I would go back over here and put in Mary Caluso. And you're done. That is the truth bomb. You would then just post it. Actually, well, formatting for some reason is weird. But this is what the truth bomb looks like. Now, if there was a link to an article about this, I would then click on this, add another post, and put the story link there. And then I would post them all. And that is how you do it. Now, there's another way for you to find journalists. If you go onto Blue Sky, this is my account. This is what I look like on Blue Sky. As you can see, I clean up good. you would go over to lists on my page over here, this thing that says lists. And you would go to, let's see, I don't think that I would search for Wyoming. Is it Wyoming? Nope, there's nothing. So let's go Alabama. No, oh shit. Okay, now Yellowstone's in Delaware. Okay, so for the part gets around. Okay, so you go open up the Delaware Independent Journalist, you go to the people, and then you see all the people who are doing, you go through and try to find someone who would be right for this. Let's just say that this guy, Steve Herman, I would then highlight his handle, go back to my truth bomb, add him in, and there it is. That's the second way of finding a journalist. Now, if you saw you couldn't find, it's a work in progress. Um, these by state lists. The other thing you can do is you can search Wyoming reporter. And there you can find some people. I use reporter, or if there aren't any, because sometimes they're not all there, I go journalist. And then you go to people. And then you can see the journalists in Wyoming. So that is how you do a meme. And that's
So, I'm sorry, I'm not on X, so I'm getting the feeling that I really need to get on X to do this.
No.
You can be on any platform at all. I was on X, I'm not on X, but I'm still on Meta. So this is a no judgment zone. Do what you're comfortable doing. But we have a list somewhere of all the platforms out there. I mean, and remember, video is also good. So if you have some video, put it on YouTube, put the video anywhere. But it's, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, subreddit, Substack, Reddit, any platform that you are on, you can post truth bombs. And remember, we've had some very brave souls posting on Truth Social. And honestly, I think I want to start a GoFundMe for combat pay for those people. But you post where you can, and just remember, either turn off commenting, or your job is to post it, not to defend it, not to explain it, not to justify it. Don't do anything. People can argue about it all they want, but it's going to send somebody to do some research, and that's what we're looking to do. So the reason that we do journalists, like I said before, is because we are trying to we are acting as news scouts, and we are trying to train journalists to say, hey, this is an important matter to me. Write a story about this. Make it local. And we need to support local journalists because, like I said earlier, corporate and legacy media have abandoned us. They've abandoned the left. They're not reporting on our marches. They're skewing our views. They are sane washing everything that's happening. I mean, it's crazy. I'm starting to get passionate again. I apologize. I'm like, it's crazy times. So we are trying to create an ecosystem for ourselves. And there's that, what was the name, Sherry, that media, give me a second. There is a site that is media that has stories or outlets, newspaper outlets from all 50 states. Also, but those are just the publications.
Oh, yes.
Not the journalists themselves. But if you go to that, you can find a journalist on that publication. So that's another way to search for journalists. So like I said, the truth bomb concept is a very simple one, but it requires a couple of steps, one of which is a bit challenging at the moment because we don't have centralized news. And again, you don't worry about how many followers a journalist has anywhere. Just because they don't have a huge following doesn't mean that they can't write a story about us. And every story or carry a story that we propose. And every story that is published by a journalist is a validation, and we grow upon that. Then we share that story.
Another question, do you lean on left-leaning journalists or do you truth bomb Fox News or
I
what?
would not limit myself to anybody. I would not, when you, if you, one thing is, some journalists prefer to be reached by email. So the reason you would include the address and the date is so that you include it in the body, and then your subject would be something like, I thought you'd find this story interesting. And then they would look at it and go, oh, okay, I didn't know about this. And you have given them something to go on to see and find the story for themselves. If you don't include the information like the address and the date, to
Understanding.
verify it, then they have no way of following the story. So yeah, I would not limit myself to any left or right leaning, and which, but you remind me that there's another thing that, well, if we only post to Blue Sky, that's the echo chamber. Nobody's going to see it. That is not our audience. The people reading is not the audience. The journalists are the audience because the journalists post everywhere and they will get our story out to different areas. So we need to get away from thinking of echo chamber and just disseminating information and making it truthful and using this meme format to get people interested in looking into it. Because even though we are addressing the journalists and hoping for them to cover the story, in the process, people will see the meme and go, I didn't know about that. What's that? That's in my town. What's going on there?
So
And that's
you rate all journalists the same then? And I mean, so if I go through and look at your list and I find the right beat, it doesn't matter which three journalists.
No, it doesn't. I mean, ideally, you would find journalists that cover that beat, but sometimes you can't. So find an editorial or the publisher of the publication that you are. Some places, again, a lot of places barely have any local coverage. So we're trying to find people, the more local they are, that they can get out with their some people just have a newsletter.
Well,
That's
so say I was going to go after the local TV reporters, uh, I should do all four networks so that they compete against each other on the story? Or?
well, um, I don't see that is necessarily wrong, but the likelihood of uh, your story getting seen by them is very small because they're already very big. So if it's an independent journalist, I would go with independent journalists, but if you want to also add in networks or local channels or something like that, I don't see that that's a problem, but also include smaller journalists because the idea is that they see it. A lot of people are trying desperately to get Matt out to see something, or Heather Cox Richardson, or Barb McQuaid, or get somebody big to cover they are deluged with mentions and never barely ever. I'm getting to the point where I can't read my mentions because it's so many people are sending things to me. So the odds of somebody who has 10 times as many followers as I do is very, very low for them to actually see it. And we want to try and get journalists to see our truth bombs.
Okay, I also happen to read AL.com. I went to Auburn, by the way. So so those aren't independent journalists in AL.com. So I was just trying to figure out.
Yeah, there are, as I said, our biggest obstacle for all things, not just truth bombs, but for all things, is that we don't have a news source. We don't have a centralized place where we don't have a Fox News. We don't have the entire it's an entire echo chamber, massive echo chamber that tells the same story over and over and over. And we don't have that on the left. And so we are using this approach instead. So there are a lot of sources to find. Like I said, use your chat GPT is actually a really good tool to say, we need give me the names and handles for Wisconsin independent journalists on Blue Sky. That's
Okay.
another way to find journalists, and that's
Okay.
actually pretty fast. So
Sounds good.
we need to get resourceful in how we find these journalists.
Yeah, thank you.
Johanna, the site you were thinking of is Media and Democracy Project.
Right. So the Media
I
and
gave them the
Democracy
link.
Project it's an amazing resource.
Yeah.
It gives you the names of publications, independent journalism publications in all 50 states, but it doesn't break out by journalists' handles. So you would still need to go to that publication, see who their reporters are, see what platforms they're on. And here's the thing that when you post your on our Slack channel, our headquarters, we have people who are posting. We just put the truth bombs, and you can use that truth bomb and post it anywhere you want. It doesn't have, just because you wrote it for Blue Sky, because I write everything for Blue Sky, doesn't mean you have to use it on Blue Sky. You can use it on whatever platform you're on. So it's just the only rules about truth bombs is how to make them, and then how to use them is use them everywhere. Excuse me.
There's a question for you in chat.
Mm-hmm.
Should we be careful how often we mention specific journalists? Do you all ever get blocked eventually if you repeat mentions? Also, is it more effective to use our personal handles or organization handles, or should we create a separate account to handle these? What's most effective?
Okay, I have never been blocked by a journalist. Their life is to get stories. In fact, if you make a habit of addressing the same journalist over and over, it's possible you may develop a relationship with them, and they may say, hey, next time just send it straight to me to my email, because you're sending really good stuff, and you're feeding, you're helping me find stories. So yeah, no, I have never been blocked by a journalist. In terms of whatever handle you broadcast from, I don't think it makes a difference. So, like I said, this is an action that is designed to be done on social media. If you are not on social media, but want to get on social media, we have a toolkit for that too. So we can help you get started. I have a whole on our Slack channel. We have, and I think it's in the toolkit, right? How to grow your. I'm not sure.
I'm
If
not
it's
sure
not in the
either.
toolkit, we have a document. For example, if you want to get started on Blue Sky, I have a document on how to create and grow your account. If you're already on Blue Sky and you want to follow me, please at me, so that with using saw the briefing or something like that, so that I know to follow you back if you want me to follow you back. And anything you post, you can, I have my settings set so only people who follow me can send me DMs. So if you want to send me a DM, you have to follow me, and for me to follow you back, you have to at me in a post so that I can see you, and then we can communicate on Blue Sky. So but I will help amplify your content, and your also, if you have questions about whether something is a truth bomb, please ask. I really encourage you to join our Slack channel, because that is where I answer all these questions. A lot of people say, I found this story, I can't figure out how to turn it into a truth bomb, and then we workshop it, and we come out with these really great. So I'm available for that, like apparently 24/7, and would love to help you. And then also, if you like this idea, if this is something that inspires you, please have people sign up for these, because we need exponentially more people.
Yeah. And if you are not on Blue Sky, and you want some training, some beginners training on how to get started on Blue Sky, I can recommend a sister organization of ours called Field Team 6 has a beginner's Blue Sky Go look through Mobilize, you'll find it. She does it online. I think she's very good.
So, I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody.
No, I said that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are, as you all know, the vast majority of people doing the work are of a certain age. And
That's us.
and we are not used to this kind of work. We are uncomfortable with the technology. We're unsure. This is not a ding on us. It's just the technology has just snowballed into what it is now. And there is no shame in asking for help. I did not expect at this age to be learning with another platform I have to learn. I was like, with this new technology I've got to do. We need to meet the times, and this is where the battleground is. This is the town square right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And in my humble opinion, Blue Sky is pretty easy to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Did anybody have any other questions? I didn't see the chat, so I didn't.
No, that was the only question we had, really.
Okay.
I have one
Oh.
question, if that's
No,
okay.
not you, Mike. No.
And it's pretty, I think it's, I think I know the answer, which is we have a couple pages on Facebook. Well, we have a page which anyone can go to, and we have a private group that only the elite can go to, only our people can go.
Right.
So I'm inferring that it probably wouldn't be too good to put a truth bomb on our private group, unless just to show people, to have them, because there's no journalist going to be out there probably.
Okay, so a couple of things about Facebook, for better or worse, is an excellent place to organize and break out into rooms. I would suggest, because this is if you don't join Slack, you can definitely help each other if you create another private room that is truth bombers. And you all can drop your truth bombs in there and cross post and share.
Okay.
Because truth bombs are not proprietary and they're evergreen. They will always, be fresh and new. So if you you have a private group for everybody, but not everybody is a truth bomber. So, however, you could encourage people to come and see these presentations. Also, you could show them a truth bomb and say, this is what we learned to do. We need amplification. Even if you don't take the training, here are the 3 steps you must do. And you can join our private group with truth bombs to access the material at any time.
Great.
So there are many ways of force multiplying this action with what you already have.
I think on Facebook we have like 4 little groups, already. So that's a great idea. Okay, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
maybe you don't do a separate one, but you could designate one of the ones you already have and ask your membership and ask your members. We've just attended this presentation. We're very excited about it because you're very excited about it. And you are inviting them to learn about it by going and watching the briefing, and or we are going to be creating and depositing our truth bombs into this group here. Let me know if you want to join it, stuff like that. So
sounds good. Thank you for that advice, Johanna. I forgot to unmute myself.
Yeah, no, of course. So I don't know if anybody has any other questions.
They've already got the toolkit. And by the way, Johanna's infamous list of pseudonyms is at the bottom of the toolkit, because we consider that to be a necessary part of it.
Well, it's very
Tangerine
funny
Terror
because
was particularly good.
which one?
The Tangerine Terror, I
Terror,
thought.
yes.
When we first started doing this, because I there is no word to describe my feelings for this vile thing. And I just started using pseudonyms. And after Sherry was Johanna, people want a list of the pseudonyms. I'm like, okay, so we just put together all the pseudonyms.
As you can tell, Johanna keeps us very entertained.
I can see. Well,
Well,
thank
you
you.
know, you gotta laugh or you're gonna cry, you
That's-
know, and today I was crying. So
Yeah, so we can do both.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, thanks to both of you for coming. I don't know, does anyone else have any questions or?
Yeah.
I think the presentation was so excellent, but many of us will probably, I'm sure, join the Sunday training.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
great. This was really
They're
great.
very awesome, very awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for,
you all. Really appreciate the invite. I really, really do. And you know, don't give up. These again, we're taking baby steps here,
Yeah.
and just based on the response, just from your own response, you know this can work. You just know it, but you have to keep at it. You have to keep doing it, and you know,
There is no quick
there's no
solution.
quick thing. And we were talking when I first started with my diatribe at the very beginning, and how do you wake people up? Well, here's the thing. And this is an example that I've used in the past. You say you get two phone calls. The first one says, the White House is on fire. The second one says, your house is on fire. Which of those two phone calls is going to get you to get up and do something?
Wow.
And here's the other thing. So your house is on fire. Who are you going to call? Yeah, tell me. I want to hear. Who are you going to call? Fire, right?
fire department.
Okay, the White House is on fire. Who are you going to call?
I'm going to call you.
Yeah,
Guess what?
no. So there's no answer to that.
Yeah.
There is no answer to that. And that is the problem with sharing national news to try and get people to motivate. It's like, what do I do with this information? I can't do anything with this. But my house is on fire. I'm going to call the fireman. The the fire department's been cut. Who's who cut the fire department? Let me find out who cut I'm not going to vote for that asshole, right? So okay, so now you motivate people to do something. And that is why when you get used to observing when you go about your business in your town, everybody thinks, oh, my town is blue, nothing's happening in my town. Drive around with different eyes. Look for the problems. Look for the garbage piling up in front of a school. Look for graffiti that wasn't there before. Look for the potholes that tear up your tires and are costing you a fortune. All of these little things. Get used to not trying to alarm people with national news because it just doesn't work.
Yeah, we tried to frighten them by telling them that our democracy was at stake. And look where that got us.
Really?
Because we didn't understand that we were dealing with an audience that didn't really understand what democracy was or how it affected them personally.
Yeah.
So true.
Anyway,
Thank
and on
you
that
very
cheery
much.
note, okay.
Thank you so
It's been a
much.
pleasure to meet you all.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you both.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all,
very
both
much.
of you.
Great job.
Thank you.
It
you
was
all.
excellent. Everybody enjoyed that, I think, and got
Thank
a
you very
lot
much.
out of it. And we will give us some tools for our toolkit, huh, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Send
absolutely.
your
100%.
friends. I just dropped a link in the chat
Oh,
for the
yeah.
next presentation of this, which is Friday and currently has over 100 people signed up. So
Wow.
you got a private preview.
We
Yeah.
did.
Oh.
It's like a private showing, isn't it?
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, thanks all a lot so
Yes.
much. And
You
we
all
hope
have a
to
great
continue.
evening.
You guys have a good one too.
Thanks for
Bye-bye,
your
everybody.
time.
Take care.
Good
Thanks
night.
again.
Bye.
Thank you again,
Good job.
Joanna, Sherry. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank
for
you.
attending.
Give it up.
Bye.